The ship moved through the darkness of space like a small fish swimming through a black ocean. It was called the Horizon, and it was the first human vessel to travel this far from Earth. Inside, 32 crew members lived and worked, each one hopping to find something wonderful among the stars. T-Ho stood near the observation window, watching the distant lights of unknown galaxies. He was 32 years old, an engineer with steady hands and a quiet mind. He did not talk much, but when he did, people listened. There was something calm about him, something that made others feel safe. Captain Yuna's voice came through the speakers. "All senior crew, report to the bridge. We have detected something unusual." T-Ho left the window and walked through the narrow corridors of the ship. The walls hummed with the sound of machines keeping everyone alive. He passed other crew members who looked at him with curious eyes. Everyone could feel that something important was happening. When he reached the bridge, Captain Yuna was already there. She was a woman of 45 years, with short black hair and eyes that had seen many difficult things. She commanded respect without raising her voice. Next to her stood Dr. Sungmin, the ship's expert on alien life. He was younger than both of them, excited and nervous at the same time. "What did we find?" T-Ho asked. Yuna pointed at the large screen in front of them. A signal pulsed across it like a heartbeat. "This," she said. "It started 15 minutes ago. It is not natural. Something made this signal." Sungmin could barely contain his excitement. This could be it. This could be first contact with intelligent alien life. We have searched for so long, and now. "We do not know what it is yet," Yuna said firmly. "It could be a trap. It could be a warning. We must be careful." But even as she said this, T-Ho could see the decision in her eyes. She wanted to know. They all wanted to know. Humans had traveled to the stars asking one simple question: are we alone? Now, floating in the cold darkness millions of kilometers from home, they might finally get an answer. "Set a course for the signal," Yuna ordered. "But keep weapons ready. We go slowly." The Horizon changed direction and began moving toward the source of the signal. Hours passed. The crew prepared for anything. Some checked their equipment. Others wrote messages to their families on Earth, just in case they never got another chance. T-Ho returned to his workstation and ran checks on the ship systems. Everything was working properly, but he felt a strange feeling in his chest. It was not fear exactly. It was something else. A feeling that once they found the source of that signal, nothing would ever be the same. Finally, they found it. The alien ship appeared on their screens like a wounded bird. It was much larger than the Horizon, built in a design that human eyes had never seen before. The metal was dark silver and strange symbols covered its surface. But something was wrong. Parts of the ship were broken. Burn marks covered the hull. It drifted without power, spinning slowly in the emptiness. "Life signs?" Yuna asked. A crew member checked the readings. "Very weak. Most of the ship is dead. But there is one section with heat and oxygen. Someone might still be alive." Yuna made her decision quickly. "We board the ship. T-Ho, Sungmin, you come with me. Everyone else, stay here and keep watch." They put on their space suits and crossed from the Horizon to the alien vessel. The inside was dark, lit only by their flashlights. The walls were covered with more strange symbols, and the air smelled wrong, like burned plastic and something else T-Ho could not name. They found bodies. Dozens of alien creatures lay dead in the corridors. They looked almost human, but their skin was pale silver and their faces were slightly different. Their eyes, now closed forever, were larger than human eyes. They wore uniforms of some kind, all the same dark blue color. Sungmin knelt beside one of them, his scientific mind working even through his shock. "They are humanoid, similar body structure to us. This is incredible." "This is a graveyard," Yuna said quietly. "Show some respect." They continued deeper into the ship, stepping over bodies and broken equipment. Whatever had attacked this vessel had been powerful and merciless. T-Ho wondered what kind of weapon could do such damage. Then they heard it, a small sound breathing. They followed the sound to a small room at the end of a corridor. Inside, curled up in a corner, was a young female alien. She was alive, but barely. Her silver skin was pale, almost white, and her violet eyes were half closed. She looked at them as they entered, and T-Ho saw something in her expression that surprised him. It was fear, but not the kind of fear you feel when you see a stranger. This was deeper. This was the kind of fear you feel when you see a monster from your worst nightmare. She tried to move away from them, but she was too weak. She made sounds in a language they did not understand, her voice filled with terror. "It is okay," T-Ho said softly, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "We are here to help you." Sung-min used a translation device, trying to find a language she might understand. After several attempts, the device found something, a galactic trade language that the alien seemed to know. "Safe," Sung-min said through the device. "You are safe now." The alien female looked at them with those large violet eyes. She was young, perhaps the equivalent of a human in their 20s. Despite her fear, there was intelligence in her gaze. She was studying them, trying to understand what they were. They brought her back to the horizon and placed her in the medical bay. The doctors worked to heal her wounds while T-Ho watched from nearby. Na had assigned him to guard her and report any changes. For 2 days the alien slept. T-Ho sat beside her bed, reading reports and checking on her condition. He found himself wondering about her story. Who was she? What had happened to her ship? Why was she so afraid of them? On the 3rd day she woke up. Her eyes opened suddenly and she sat up with a gasp. When she saw T-Ho sitting nearby, that same fear returned to her face. She pressed herself against the wall as far from him as she could get. "Easy," T-Ho said through the translation device. "You are on our ship. We found you. We saved your life." The alien female stared at him. Her breathing was fast and her hands were shaking. She looked at him like she was seeing something impossible, something that should not exist. When she finally spoke, her words made no sense to him, but they sent a chill down his spine that he would never forget. "You should not exist," she whispered. "You should not exist." T-Ho did not understand. He opened his mouth to ask what she meant, but she turned away from him and closed her eyes, refusing to say anything more. He sat there in the quiet medical bay, surrounded by the soft sounds of machines, and wondered what secret this alien girl was keeping. Why did she fear them so much? And what did she mean when she said humans should not exist? He did not know it yet, but the answer would change everything humanity believed about their place in the universe. Days passed on the horizon and the alien female slowly grew stronger. The doctors said her body was healing well, and soon she would be able to walk. But her mind was still a mystery. She barely spoke, and when she did, her words were strange and confusing. They learned her name was Lyra. She said it once quietly when Dr. Sung-min asked. After that, she went silent again, watching everyone with those large violet eyes. T-Ho continued to visit her every day. He brought her food that the doctors said was safe for her kind to eat. He sat with her and tried to make small conversation, even though she rarely answered. Something about her made him want to understand her better. "Where are you from?" he asked one morning through the translation device. Lyra looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Far away, a world you have never heard of." "What is it called?" "It does not matter. I can never go back." T-Ho wanted to ask why, but he saw the pain in her eyes and decided to wait. Some wounds needed time before they could be touched. Meanwhile, Captain Yuna was dealing with a growing problem. The Horizon had detected more signals in the area. These were different from the first one. They were warnings, telling all ships to stay away from this part of space. "We have entered restricted territory," Na told her senior officers in a private meeting. "Someone does not want visitors here." Maybe that is why Lyra's ship was attacked, Sungmin suggested. Maybe they broke the same rule we did. We need more information, Yuna said. Sungmin, I want you to learn everything you can from our guest. Be gentle but be thorough. We need to know what we are dealing with. Sungmin tried his best. He visited Lyra many times, asking questions about her people, her culture, her history. But Lyra was careful with her answers. She told him small things about the Velen people, as she called her kind. She explained that they lived on several planets across the galaxy. She described their food, their music, their art. But whenever Sungmin asked about the attack on her ship, or about the warnings they had detected, Lyra changed the subject. It was clear she was hiding something important. What surprised Sungmin most was the questions Lyra asked in return. She wanted to know everything about Earth. She asked about human history, about wars, about diseases. She asked how humans had survived ice ages and plagues and disasters. She asked about their technology, their weapons, their will to fight. Why do you want to know these things? Sungmin asked her one day. Lyra's violet eyes were unreadable. Because I need to understand what you are. Sungmin did not know what to say to that. He reported everything to Captain Yuna, who frowned and told him to keep trying. One night Tiho could not sleep. He walked through the quiet corridors of the ship until he found himself outside the medical bay. Through the window, he could see Lyra sitting up in her bed, staring at the wall. She looked lonely. He entered the room and she turned to look at him. For once, the fear in her eyes was not as strong. Perhaps she was getting used to him. Perhaps she was just too tired to be afraid. Cannot sleep, Tiho asked. My people do not need as much sleep as yours, Lyra said. But I also have many thoughts that keep me awake. Tiho sat down in his usual chair. Do you want to talk about them? Lyra was quiet for a long time. Then she said, You saved my life, you and your crew. I did not expect that. What did you expect? I expected you to kill me, or leave me to die. Tiho frowned. Why would we do that? You were hurt, you needed help. Lyra tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. That is what makes you strange. That is what makes you dangerous. Dangerous, we helped you. Yes, Lyra said softly, and that is exactly the problem. Before Tiho could ask what she meant, she reached out and grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were cold against his skin. She pulled him closer until her mouth was near his ear. Her breath was warm and her voice was barely a whisper. Your kind was supposed to be extinct, she said. The elders burned your world 50,000 years ago. They watched it die. And yet, here you are. Tiho felt his heart stop. He pulled back and stared at her. What are you talking about? Lyra's eyes were wet with tears she was trying not to shed. I am sorry. I should not have told you, but you have been kind to me, and you deserve to know the truth about what is coming. What is coming? Lyra, explain yourself. But before she could answer, alarms began to scream throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Yuna's voice came through the speakers, sharp and urgent. All hands to battle stations. We have incoming. A Velen warship has just dropped out of hyperspace. They are heading straight for us. Tiho looked at Lyra, his mind spinning with questions he could not ask. She looked back at him with sadness and something else. Was it guilt? Was it pity? Go, she said quietly. Do what you must, but know this, they are not here for you, they are here for me. They want to silence what I know. Tiho wanted to stay, wanted to demand answers, but duty called him. He ran from the medical bay toward his station, Lyra's words echoing in his head. Your kind was supposed to be extinct. The elders burned your world. 50,000 years ago. He did not understand what any of it meant, but he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had stumbled into something far bigger and more dangerous than they had ever imagined. And the alien girl in the medical bay held the key to secrets that could change everything. The ship shook as the Velen warship approached. Through the windows, T-Ho could see it. It was massive, 10 times the size of the horizon, bristling with weapons that looked like nothing humans had ever built. Captain Yu-Na stood on the bridge, her face calm even as disaster approached. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Let us see what they want." The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was a Velen male, older than Lyra, with deep lines on his silver skin. His violet eyes were cold and hard. When he spoke, the translation device turned his words into something T-Ho would never forget. "Human vessel, you are harboring a fugitive. Surrender the one called Lyra immediately and submit to cleansing protocols. You have 1 hour to comply. If you refuse, you will be destroyed." The screen went dark. Silence filled the bridge. Every crew member looked at Captain Yu-Na, waiting for her decision. Their lives hung on what she would say next. Yu-Na straightened her shoulders and looked at her crew. "We did not come this far to hand over helpless survivors to people who want to kill them. We are humans. We do not leave anyone behind." She turned to the communication officer. "Tell them our answer is no." T-Ho felt something stir in his chest. Pride, maybe, or defiance. Whatever it was, he knew that the horizon was about to fight a battle they could not win, but they would fight anyway. Because that was what humans did. They fought. They survived, even when the whole universe wanted them dead. He thought of Lyra's words again. "The elders burned your world, and yet here you are." Here they were indeed, and they were not going to surrender. Not now, not ever. The Velen warship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. The hour they had been given was running out, and everyone on the horizon knew that death was coming. But no one suggested surrender. Not one voice asked to give up Lyra. Captain Yu-Na called an emergency meeting with her senior officers. T-Ho was there, along with Sung-Min and the others. They gathered in the small conference room, their faces serious. "Before we die," Yu-Na said calmly, "I think we deserve to know why. Bring the alien girl here. It is time for the truth." T-Ho went to get Lyra. She was already standing when he arrived, as if she knew this moment was coming. She walked slowly, still weak from her injuries, but there was a new strength in her eyes. The strength of someone who had decided to stop hiding. When they reached the conference room, everyone stared at her. Some with curiosity, some with anger, all with questions. Yu-Na pointed to a chair. "Sit, talk, tell us everything." Lyra sat down and looked at the humans surrounding her. She took a deep breath and began to speak. 50,000 years ago, my people were different. We were explorers like you. We traveled the stars looking for life, looking for knowledge. We were part of something called the Galactic Concord. It was an alliance of the oldest and most powerful species in the universe. Hundreds of worlds working together to keep order in the galaxy. She paused, her violet eyes distant with memory. One day, Concord scientists discovered a young planet on the outer edge of the galaxy. It was a small blue world, beautiful and full of life. And on this world, they found something that frightened them. They found a species that had just begun to walk upright. A species that was violent and creative and unstoppable. A species that their computers predicted would one day spread across the stars and dominate everything in their path. T-Ho felt cold. He knew what planet she was describing. "Earth," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Yes, Earth, your world, your ancestors." Sung-Min leaned forward. "What did the Concord do?" Lyra's voice became heavy with shame. "They voted. The elder species looked at their predictions and decided that humans were too dangerous to exist. They said that if humans were allowed to grow, they would eventually destroy the balance of the galaxy. So they chose to stop that future before it could happen." She looked down at her hands. "They sent ships to your world, hundreds of ships, and they burned it. They targeted your settlements, your forests, your water sources. They dropped fire from the sky until the whole planet was covered in smoke and ash. Then they left, believing they had solved the problem forever." The room was completely silent. Tiho could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Yuna's voice was ice cold. They tried to wipe us out. Yes, Lyra said. The official records say that humanity was eliminated. The conquered celebrated their success and moved on to other matters. For 50,000 years, no one thought about Earth again. It was just another dead world, another species that never got the chance to become a threat. But we survived, Tiho said. Lyra looked at him and there was something like wonder in her eyes. Yes, you survived. Against every prediction, against every calculation, against all logic. A small number of your ancestors found shelter in caves deep underground. They lived through the fire. They came out when the smoke cleared, and they started again. She shook her head slowly. They forgot, of course. Over thousands of years, the memory of the attack became myth. Stories of angry gods, of great floods and fires sent to punish the wicked. Your ancestors could not understand what had really happened, so they turned it into religion and legend. But deep inside, somewhere in your blood, you remembered. You remembered that the universe tried to kill you, and you refused to die. Sungmin was pale. This is incredible. This changes everything we know about human history. But why are they hunting you? Yuna asked Lyra. What do you have to do with this? Lyra's expression became painful. 6 months ago, I was part of a research team studying ancient conquered records. We found documents that had been buried for thousands of years. Documents that proved humans had survived. We discovered that a species the conquered thought they had destroyed was now building ships and reaching for the stars again. You found proof that we still exist, Tiho said. Yes, and when we tried to report this to the conquered, something went wrong. There are factions within the conquered who do not want this information to be known. They fear that if the galaxy learns humans are alive, there will be panic. There will be calls for another extinction. There will be war. These factions decided it was better to keep the secret buried. They destroyed your ship, Yuna said, understanding now. They killed everyone I loved, Lyra whispered. My friends, my teachers, my family, all of them murdered to protect a 50,000-year-old lie. I escaped only because I was in a different part of the ship when the attack came. Tears ran down her silver cheeks. I drifted in that broken ship for days, waiting to die, and then you found me. Humans found me. The very species I was taught to fear, the species that was supposed to be a monster, saved my life without asking for anything in return. She looked at Tiho with those large violet eyes. When I first saw you, I was terrified. I grew up hearing stories about how dangerous humans were, how violent, how destructive. I expected you to prove those stories true. Instead, you gave me food. You sat with me while I healed. You treated me with kindness. The room was quiet. Even Yuna's hard face had softened slightly. Why are you telling us this now? Tiho asked. Why trust us with this secret? Lyra wiped her eyes. Because you deserve to know why you are about to die. That ship out there wants to kill me to keep the truth hidden. But they will kill you too, because now you know what I know. They cannot let you return to Earth with this information. Then they have made a mistake, Yuna said quietly. Everyone looked at her. They came here thinking they would find frightened aliens and one human ship full of scientists. Na continued. They expected us to surrender. They expected us to beg for mercy. But they forgot the one thing their ancient records should have told them. She stood up, and there was fire in her eyes. Humans do not beg. Humans do not give up. 50,000 years ago, the universe tried to burn us to nothing, and we crawled out of the ashes. We rebuilt everything from dirt and stone and pure stubborn will. We fought ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. We survived every single thing the universe threw at us, and we are still here. She looked around at her crew. That ship is bigger than us, stronger than us, better armed than us, but they do not have what we have. They do not have 10,000 generations of survivors behind them. They do not have ancestors who refused to die when gods dropped fire from the sky. Tiho felt something powerful rising in his chest. Not fear. Something older. Something passed down through blood and bone from those first humans who crawled out of burning caves and looked up at the stars with defiance in their eyes. "What do we do, Captain?" he asked. Yu-Na smiled. It was not a gentle smile. It was the smile of a species that had learned to fight the universe itself. "We show them why the conquered was right to be afraid of us," she said. "We show them what humans can do." Outside, the Velen warship began to power up its weapons. The hour was over. The battle was about to begin. And for the first time in 50,000 years, humanity was going to remind the galaxy why they had tried so hard to make sure humans never existed. The first shot from the Velen warship missed the horizon by less than 100 meters. The explosion of energy lit up the darkness of space like a small sun. Everyone on the bridge felt the ship shake from the force of it. "Evasive action," Yu-Na shouted. "Do not let them get a clean shot." The Horizon was a small ship, built for exploration rather than war. But small meant fast, and fast meant hard to hit. The pilot, a young woman named Jai-Yon, threw the ship into a spinning dive that made everyone grab onto something solid. The Velen warship fired again and again, but each time the Horizon danced away just in time. Jai-Yon flew like someone possessed, using every trick she had ever learned and inventing new ones on the spot. "They are too big," Sung-min said, watching the enemy ship on the screens. "Their weapons are too slow to track us. They were built to fight other big ships, not something as small as us." "Then we use that," Yu-Na said. "Tiho, can we get close enough to hit them?" Tiho studied the readouts. "Their shields are too strong for our weapons, but if we can find a weak point, somewhere the shields do not cover." "The engines," Lyra said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She had followed them to the bridge, refusing to stay behind while others fought for her. "Velen ships have a design flaw," Lyra explained quickly. "The shields cannot fully cover the engine exhaust ports while the engines are running. If you can get behind them and fire into the exhaust, you might be able to damage their propulsion system." "That is a very small target," Jai-Yon said, still focused on dodging incoming fire. "Then let us hope your human creativity is as impressive as the stories say," Lyra replied. Yu-Na nodded. "Do it. Get us behind that ship." What followed was 10 minutes of the most terrifying flying any of them had ever experienced. Jai-Yon pushed the Horizon to its limits, weaving between weapons fire, using debris from the destroyed Velen research ship as cover. Twice they were nearly hit. 3 times the hull groaned with stress. But slowly, impossibly, they made it behind the massive warship. "I see the exhaust ports," Tiho shouted, "firing now." The Horizon's weapons were small, meant for breaking apart asteroids rather than fighting warships. But Tiho aimed carefully, putting every shot exactly where Lyra had told them. The first volley hit the left exhaust port. The second hit the right. For a moment nothing happened. Then the Velen warship shuddered. Flames burst from its engines. The massive vessel began to spin slowly out of control. "Direct hit," Sung-min cheered. "Their engines are damaged." But their victory was short-lived. The Velen ship was hurt, not dead. Its weapons turned toward the Horizon, and this time they were close enough that even a big ship could not miss. "Brace for impact," Yu-Na screamed. The shot hit the Horizon hard. The ship spun wildly. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Tiho was thrown from his seat and hit the wall hard enough to see stars. When he looked up, the bridge was filled with smoke. Several crew members were injured. The ship was badly damaged. "Status report," Yu-Na demanded, blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. "Engines at 40%. Shields are gone. Hull breach on deck 3, sealed but unstable. We cannot take another hit like that." The Velen warship was turning toward them again, slowly because of its damaged engines, but still deadly. Yu-Na looked at her crew, at their frightened faces, and made a decision. "Open a channel," she said. "Broadcast on all frequencies, every frequency we can reach." The communication officer looked confused but obeyed. "Channel open, Captain." Yu-Na straightened her uniform and looked directly at the camera. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. "This message is for everyone in this galaxy who can hear it. My name is Yu-Na, captain of the human vessel Horizon. We are a species called humanity, from a planet called Earth." She paused, letting her words sink in across the stars. 50,000 years ago, the Galactic Conquered tried to destroy us. They burned our world. They thought they killed us all. They were wrong. We survived. We rebuilt. And now we have returned to the stars. On the screen, T-Ho could see that the Velan warship had stopped moving. They were listening. "We did not come here looking for war," Yu-Na continued. "We came looking for knowledge, for friendship, for connection with other intelligent life. We found a damaged ship and saved its only survivor. For this act of kindness, we have been attacked. We have been told to submit to something called cleansing protocols." Her eyes hardened. "We refuse. We will never submit to extinction again. We are not your enemies, but we will defend ourselves with everything we have. We offer peace to any species willing to accept it, but to those who would try to destroy us again, we have only this message." She leaned forward, and her voice became something ancient and powerful. "Humanity will not be erased. You can burn our worlds, you can destroy our ships, you can kill millions of us, but you will never ever destroy all of us. We will always survive, we will always come back, and we will remember what you did." She stepped back. "This is the human vessel Horizon. We are still here. We will always be here. End transmission." The channel closed. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Velan warship floated in space, its weapons still pointed at the horizon. Everyone waited. Then something unexpected happened. New signals appeared on the sensors. Ships were coming out of hyperspace all around them. Not Velan ships. Different ships, different designs from different species. Some were small, some were large. They surrounded the battlefield like witnesses to a trial. "What is happening?" Sung-Min whispered. Lyra was staring at the screen with wide eyes. "Your message was heard. Species from all over this sector are coming to see if humans are real, to see what happens next." The Velan warship powered down its weapons. A new communication came through. The same Velan commander appeared on screen, but now his cold confidence was gone. He looked afraid. "Human vessel," he said, This is not over. The Conquered will hear of this. There will be consequences." Then his ship turned and limped away into hyperspace, leaving the horizon floating among a fleet of curious alien vessels. Yu-Na let out a breath she had been holding. "Get us out of here. Set a course for Earth. We need to tell them what we have learned." The horizon, damaged but alive, began to move. The alien ships watching them did not attack. Some even moved aside to let them pass, their crews watching the small human vessel with something that might have been respect. T-Ho found Lyra standing near the observation window, looking at the stars. "You surprised me," she said quietly. "Your captain's message, I did not expect that." "What did you expect?" "Anger, threats, violence. That is what the Conquered taught us to expect from humans." She turned to look at him. Instead, she offered peace first. She said you came looking for friendship. T-Ho nodded. "That is what we want, but we will not let anyone destroy us either." Lyra was silent for a moment. "I think I am beginning to understand why the Conquered really fears you. It is not your violence that frightens them. It is your hope, your stubborn, impossible hope that things can be better." She touched the window, her silver fingers leaving prints on the glass. "The Conquered built their power on fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of species who might challenge their control. But you cannot make fearful people hopeful by threatening them. You have to show them something worth hopping for." She looked at Tiho with new eyes. That is what your captain did. She did not just tell the galaxy that humans are dangerous. She told them that humans want peace. She gave them a choice. The Horizon jumped into hyperspace, leaving the battlefield behind. But Tiho knew that the battle was not really over. It was just beginning. They had sent a message to the galaxy. Now they had to wait and see who would answer. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of repairs, of healing, of quiet conversations about everything that had happened. The crew of the Horizon had left home as explorers. They were returning as something else entirely. They were returning as messengers carrying the most important news in human history. Tiho spent most of that time with Lyra. She was fully healed now, walking through the ship, helping where she could. The crew had accepted her as one of their own. Whatever fear they might have felt toward aliens had disappeared after fighting beside her. One evening, they sat together in the observation room, watching the stars stream past as the ship traveled through hyperspace. "What will you do when we reach Earth?" Tiho asked. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "I do not know. I have nowhere else to go. My people will consider me a traitor for telling you the truth. My home is lost to me." "You could stay with us," Tiho said. "On Earth, I mean if you wanted to." Lyra looked at him with surprise. "You would accept me, after everything my people did to yours?" "You did not do those things. The Conquered did thousands of years before you were born. You saved us by telling us the truth. You helped us fight. That makes you our friend." Lyra's violet eyes filled with emotion. "Friend, yes, I think I would like that." They sat in comfortable silence, two beings from different worlds looking at the same stars. Far away, in the center of the galaxy, the Conquered was in chaos. High Elder Morath sat in the Great Council chamber, surrounded by representatives from dozens of species. The chamber was enormous, built to show the power and majesty of the elder races. But today, there was no majesty. There was only fear. "The human message has spread everywhere," one representative reported. "Every sector has received it. Every species knows that humanity survived." "This is your fault," another elder accused Morath. "Your faction tried to keep the secret buried. You sent assassins to destroy the research team, and now look what has happened." Morath's silver face was cold. "We did what was necessary to maintain order. The alternative was panic and chaos." "The alternative was truth," someone else said. "And now we have both panic and chaos with truth leading the way." The council argued for hours. Some demanded that humanity be destroyed immediately before they could become a threat. Others pointed out that the galaxy was already watching. Any attack on Earth now would be seen as exactly what the humans claimed it would be: attempted genocide. But the most interesting voices came from the younger species. Races that had lived under the Conquered's control for centuries, following rules they had never made, afraid to question the elder powers. "The humans offered peace," one young representative said boldly. "They said they want friendship, not war. Should we not at least listen to them?" "They are dangerous," Morath shouted. "Our ancestors knew this. They saw the predictions. Humans will destroy everything we have built." "Or," the young representative replied, "they will show us a different way, a way where species do not have to be afraid of each other." The debate went on. No decision was made, but something had changed. For the first time in thousands of years, the Conquered's power was being questioned, and it was humans who had planted the seed of that change. The Horizon came out of hyperspace above Earth. Tiho stood on the bridge with the rest of the crew, looking at the beautiful blue planet that was their home. From up here it looked so small and fragile, so easy to burn. But it had not burned, not completely, and the people who lived there now were the descendants of those who had survived the fire. "Welcome home," Captain Yuna said softly. Ships came to meet them. Military vessels, science ships, government transports. Word had already reached Earth about what had happened. The whole world was waiting to hear their story. They landed at a large spaceport where crowds had gathered. When the doors opened and the crew walked out, people cheered. They cheered for the brave explorers who had gone to the stars and come back with proof that humanity was not alone. Then Lyra stepped out and the cheering stopped. Everyone stared at the silver-skinned alien standing among the humans. Some looked afraid, some looked angry, some looked curious. T-Ho stepped forward and took Lyra's hand. "This is Lyra," he said loudly so everyone could hear. "She is a Velan. Her people are part of the group that tried to destroy us long ago, but Lyra is not our enemy. She risked everything to tell us the truth. She helped us fight when others wanted us dead. She is our friend." The crowd was silent. Then slowly someone began to clap, then another, then another. The applause grew until the whole spaceport was thundering with it. Lyra stood there, tears running down her silver cheeks, overwhelmed by this welcome from a species that should have been her enemy. In the days that followed, the crew of the Horizon met with the leaders of Earth. They told their story in full. They shared everything Lyra had told them about the Conquered, about the ancient attack, about the secrets that had been buried for 50,000 years. The leaders of Earth were shocked. They were angry, they were afraid, but they were also determined. "We will not seek revenge," the head of the United Earth Council declared. "We will not start a war we cannot win, but we will prepare. We will build. We will make sure that if anyone comes for us again, they will find us ready." They also decided to send another message to the galaxy. This one was not from a single ship captain. It was from all of humanity. "To all species of the Galactic Conquered," the message began. "We are humanity. We survived your attempt to destroy us. We do not seek vengeance for crimes committed by your ancestors. We understand fear of the unknown. We have felt it ourselves, but we have learned that fear can be overcome through understanding. We invite any species willing to meet us in peace to send representatives to Earth. Let us begin a new chapter, one where we face the future together instead of fearing each other." The message went out across the stars, and slowly ships began to answer. Some came to threaten, some came to observe, but some, many more than anyone expected, came to talk. 1 year later, T-Ho stood on a balcony overlooking the new galactic embassy being built on the outskirts of Seoul. Representatives from 12 species now lived on Earth, learning about humanity, sharing knowledge about the galaxy. Lyra stood beside him, wearing clothes that mixed human and Velan styles. She had become a symbol of the possibility of peace between species. She had also become something more to T-Ho, though they were still figuring out what exactly that meant. "I used to think you were monsters," Lyra said, watching the sun set over the city. "My people taught me to fear humans above all else. They said you would destroy everything you touched." "And now?" T-Ho asked. Lyra smiled. "Now I think you are the strangest species I have ever known. You carry so much pain in your history, so much war, so much cruelty, so much suffering, and yet you never stop reaching for something better. You never stop hopping." She turned to look at him. "That is not monstrous, that is beautiful." T-Ho thought about his ancestors, the ones who had crawled out of burning caves 50,000 years ago. They had lost almost everything, but they had not lost their will to survive. They had not lost their ability to hope. And now their descendants were building something those ancestors could never have imagined. A future where humanity stood among the stars, not as conquerors but as neighbors, as friends. "The Conquered still fears us," T-Ho said. "There are still species who want us destroyed." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "There will be challenges ahead, dangers, maybe even wars, but you are humans. You do not break, you do not give up, and now you are not alone anymore." She took his hand. "Whatever comes next, we will face it together." Below them, the embassy was filling with light as the work continued through the night. Humans and aliens working side by side, building something new. T-Ho remembered Captain Yuna's words from the meeting with Earth's leaders. She had been asked if she was afraid of what the future might bring. Her answer had been simple. They burned our world once. We rebuilt. If they come again, we will be ready. Not because we are the strongest, but because we are the ones who refuse to die. Looking at the lights below, at Lyra beside him, at the stars beginning to appear overhead, Tiho finally understood what those words meant. Humanity had survived the fire. They had survived the silence. They had survived the lies. And now they were writing a new story. A story where the galaxy would finally learn what humanity had always known. That hope was stronger than fear. That life was stronger than death. And that some species simply refused to be erased. The stars shone down on Earth, on humanity's home, on the beginning of something wonderful. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species looked up at those same stars and wondered what the future would bring. For the first time in 50,000 years, the answer was not fear. It was hope,